trying a new way of recording lessons, so bear with me if this is a little bit painful. Hopefully it won't be too much. So let's just get into it. So this next part of this topic, which is just on percentages and percentage changes and then interest, is something you've mostly seen before, so I just want to do a quick recap of that. And the key thing here is the idea of a multiplier. So what does that mean? If I, why is this not, there we go. So if I identify a multiplier, that helps me do my percentage changes. And so if you're on a calculator paper, this is the only way you ever need to do percentages, because there's very few marks for doing it any other way. So the multiplier being, for example, if I want to find 30% of something, 30% as a decimal is 0.3. And so 0.3 is what I need to multiply. That's going to be my multiplier to get my new value. So if I want to find 20% of a number, all I need to do is turn that into decimal, so that's 0.2, and that's what I multiply by. If I'm increasing by 37%, I start with 100%, I'm adding on 37%. Now this is a step you don't necessarily need to write down, but this what should be going on in your head. So what I want at the end is 137%, so that's 1.37. Decrease by 10%, I start with 100%, I take off 10%, so I'm left with 90%. So 90% as a decimal is 0.9. Similar, start with 100, add 101, so you should get 201%. So as a decimal, that's what you multiply by. If I decrease my value by 25% and then by 25%, I'm just multiplying by, 100 take away 25 is 75, so multiply, 0.75 times 0.75, and so what that should be is just 0.75 squared. Okay, so something to do really quickly, so just have a quick pause of the video, just try that. You don't have to do this skull one if you don't want to. Okay, so if you've done those, your answer should be here. So just note this actually, that if you're decreasing by 10%, increasing by 10%, you don't get the same answer. Okay, this comes from multiplying by 0.9 and then multiplying by 1.1. Okay, so this should be 35,000 times 1.03, should give you that. If you've done that, you'll find that if you increase the speed by 25%, your time decreases by 20%. You can see if you pick a distance or a time. Okay, so, I think you might have just seen the answers. If I ask you what the percentage change, so firstly, if someone asks me for 64 as a percentage of 80, all I need to do is do 64 over 80. So this, I mean, the only reason I say this is when I ask is as a percentage of 80. That's the order I do it in. If it was 80 as a percentage of 64, I'd do the other way around. Remember, that's going to be 0.8. So as a percentage, that is 80%. The increase, there's two ways to do this. You could muck around with thinking like, well, the changes are divided by the original, but I tend to think of it as say, well, okay, I've started here, I've gone here. So I've gone 50 times some multiplier is 68. So all I need to do is 68 divided by 50, which is, which gives me, that gives me 1.36. And so you can see 1.36, so it's 136%, so the increase is 36%. Right, so what percentage, this is what happens when you get more than one change, so just to recap that. What percentage reduction or decrease, same thing, is a 30% reduction followed by 10% reduction. So 30% reduction is 0.7 multiplied by 10% reduction, which is going to be 0.9. So that should be 0.63. So the reduction here is going to be a 36% reduction, right? So clearly not a 40% one, because you're left with 63%, so I've gone down by 36% from 100. If I'm thinking about increasing, so council tax increases by 3% one year and 4% the next year, so the overall increase, well, by first year I multiply by 1.03, second year I multiply by 1.04, so the end result is 1.0712. So the increase is 7.12%. Again, crucially, it isn't 7, so you can't just add them. And my last one, a rectangle, this is the sort of thing that actually comes up at GCSE every now and then, is made 25% longer and the width is 20% shorter. So I'm taking the length and I'm taking this length and I'm multiplying by, I'm increasing by 25%, so I'm multiplying by 1.25. But the width, or the height if you like, is 20% shorter, I'm multiplying by 0.8. So the area is going to change by these two multiplied together. So I'm going to have to do 1.25 times 0.8. And, sorry, I have my calculator at hand here. In fact, you'll find that this is actually you could have done this by doing it as a fraction, because this is 5/4 times 4/5. This is equal to 1. And so you might say no change in area. Okay, so here are some questions for you to do. Now, I would say for this, if you're really happy with this, don't worry about it. Don't worry about doing lots of them. So maybe just do 4, 5, and skull, or just do a selection. I wouldn't necessarily worry about doing all of it. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at those. And here are the answers if you've done those. If you have any questions about any of those, particularly this one, just drop me an email. Happy to explain. Okay, so the second part of this is about reverse percentages, where you're kind of working backwards. So you have some original value and a multiplier to get a new value. So the idea is here is you get the new value and the percentage, and you want to work back the original. Okay, so here, if I want to find the original value before the percentage change, the key is obviously just to rearrange this and divide. It's the new value divided by the multiplier. Okay, so here's an example. So Marley and Seamus has a fight. Seamus gets beat up and he loses 30% of his body's blood. So there's two ways of doing this. One is to say, if say Seamus's blood is X, okay, so he's lost 30% of his blood, so I'm multiplying by 0.7, and that's going to give me 5.6. And then what do? Well, I say X is going to be 5.6. Oh dear, why does it do that? Divide by 0.7, which then gives me 8. So 8 pints in this case. The other way, which I don't particularly like because it feels not very applicable, but some people do like doing this, I'll just show you anyway. So I don't know what 100% is, but I know that 100% of Seamus's blood, I don't know. I know that 70% of Seamus's blood is 5.6. So 10%, if you like, you do 1% if it is divided by 7, so that's going to be 0.8. So 100% times by 10 is you divide by 8. Times by 10 is going to be 8 pints. So sorry, Seamus. Sorry, Marley. I miss putting people in my PowerPoints. Right, if you'd like to try these two, go ahead. If not, you can just skip them if you feel like you do need to practice this. So here are the answers. Okay, so again, just using the multiplier method is probably the easiest thing here. Okay, so here is an interesting one though. In these, what I'd like you to think about is just pause the video and have a think about, for each of these ones, do you reverse or do you not reverse the percentage? Are you dividing? Okay, so here, 25% less than last year. So this is this year. So I want to work out the ones from before. So I am going to reverse this. Yeah, this is all largely Shakespeare themed. The performance of Russia took in 60 farthings and taken 5% to 15% less. So I'm working out a new amount, so I don't reverse. 20% VAT, so the 20% is applied to the original price. So I want to find the original, so that is the reverse. And here, if you lower the amount by 36%, I'm not going to reverse. So here are some more examples. So if your take-home salary after 20% tax is 24,000 pounds. So the full salary, so 20% tax is something is applied, my original salary, whatever that is, gets 20% tax applied to it. So I'm going to take off 20%, so I'm going to reduce that by 20%. So I'm going to, that something times 0.8 is 24,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by that 0.8, and that's going to give my full salary. Okay, so I have a 26% pay rise. So I'm going to be multiplying something by 1.26. So to get my marriage, I divide by that. So I should get that. Now this is slightly more interesting. Well, not really, but try 25% for 2 years. So the idea is I set my 25% population and I'm going to find 75% of it, but twice, so squared, or just times by itself. Oh, I don't know why it does that. Anyway, so I'm going to divide by that. And that's going to get, so that this saves me the trouble of doing any more multiplying. And ratings are up 125%, so that means it's more than doubled. So I'm timesing not by 1.25 but by 2.25 because I add 125 to 225. It's my final answer. Okay, so here's some more examples for you to try. So again, if you think you're pretty happy with these, I mean, they're only 5 questions, so they should take not very long. So just have a go. I mean, maybe skip a couple of them. Right, anyway, here are the answers for those. If you think you're all very happy with this, then do have a go at the extension I've posted instead. Right, cool. See you soon. Bye.